It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday, Farmer Rapid Fire edition of the show. Hey, thanks so much for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a part of your workday. And of course, a big shout out to everybody also listening out there on the RealAg Radio podcast. Big announcement here today. Yes, ready for it? Da-da-da-da-da. Where's the music? We have a new sponsor for the Farmer Rapid Fire shows here every Thursday. They're back. It is Pioneer Seeds Canada. So big shout out to all the Pioneer and Corteva staff across the country that want to, really show support of this show. This is the show of the week where we really hear from the farmers. We go coast to coast. We try our best to talk to farmers from a whole bunch of different regions and find out how they're making out on their farms and their ranches and their barns. And we're going to really learn what's on their minds. And one of my favorite shows of the week, of course, and yours as well. And it's great to have Pioneer aboard as the sponsor every week of this show. So big shout out to Pioneer for their support of RealAg Radio. We're going to hear from Paul Hermans from Pioneer Seeds Canada here in a little bit. Also want to encourage you to go to pioneer.com/Canada to learn more about their great list of trait and technologies and hybrids and what they have to offer to the Canadian grower. The other farmers that we're going to talk to today are Charlene Wattam from Renfrew, Ontario. We got Patrick Dunphy. He's in P.E.I. Jim Hale is in Lancer, Saskatchewan. And we also have Landon Friesen from Crystal City, Manitoba. Now, if you have feedback, send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Or, of course, you can find us online across all the different social media platforms or call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. Let's take a break, and we'll get the Farmer Rapid Fire started in P.E.I. When we come back, you're listening to RealAg Radio, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We're talking to Murray Purvis. He is the owner of ABJ Agri Products. Hey, Murray, let's talk about this Easy Jet nozzle. People are talking about it. It's getting a lot of attention. What are some of the features and benefits?
Well, since the case-aim system came out, what we found was you're using a state-of-the-art spraying system, but you're using an old technology nozzle. In other words, at higher pressure, 40 to 60, you've got a lot of drift. Those nozzles, about 25% of the droplets are driftable. Whereas with EasyJet, it's more like 2%. Then there's the other side. You end up with larger droplets when you drop the pressure to reduce your drift. So with EasyJets, you have minimal drift. You spray at 40 to 60 PSI, and you have optimal droplets.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, I encourage everybody to check out the website. That again is abjagra.com. Hey, Murray, really appreciate you joining us here today. Good luck with the upcoming season.
Great. Thanks, Shaun.
Really looking forward to today's Farmer Rapid Fire. Find out how people are making out in their fields and their barns, on the ranch, all that kind of stuff. We're going to hear some interesting stuff. And we've been discussing all week, a little bit different weather patterns depending on where you are in the country here in the first week of May. You know what? For more than 90 years, Pioneer has developed and tested products to meet your local challenges. With new Optimum Glide canola, Enlist E3 soybeans, to performing corn products and industry-leading traits and technologies to maximizing your yield potential. Pioneer's on-the-ground teams can help you get the right products for your fields. Visit pioneer.com/Canada to learn more. And of course, we're going to hear from Paul Hermans from Pioneer here later on in the program. And we start off this week's Farmer Rapid Fire. We're talking to Patrick Dunphy. Hey, Patrick, how are you doing?
Hey, Shaun. Doing great, thanks.
And Patrick, you're farming on the island in P.E.I. So what's happening this week on the farm?
Yeah, so the land of sand here, southeastern P.E.I. We got going on the ground like 3 weeks ago. So yeah, today, wet day, of course, just just your normal run of the mill rainy day jobs on the farm, office work and things like that. But yeah, getting some crop on the ground.
Are you getting the kind of the amount of rain that's been happening in central Canada?
No, not at all. Quite the opposite, really. I've seen so April super dry here, and I've seen some rainfall totals for the month. Usually, on average, on the island here, we get like 75 mils of rain, or 3 inches for U.S. listeners. This year we only had 15 mils, so we had about half an inch of rain. So and we had no snow either, so super dry here. Like the guys are, we're working through parts of fields that we shouldn't be able to go near for another month, right? And here we are, tilling through those low areas, absolutely no problem. So
yeah, and I was on the island in January, and you're right, there wasn't a lot of snow.
No, I didn't have the snowmobile out once. Some of the hardcore guys got out. They were, probably busting across the red dirt, but there was a little bit of snow at times, but not a lot.
Now, do you have potatoes?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so what's the outlook there? Things looking good for the year ahead?
Things looking expensive, really, really expensive. Just the last couple of days been in the office, and we're about half done potato planting right now, and just the expense is just crazy this year.
Now,
of course, it's going to be the same right across, whether you're putting in wheat or canola or any other crop. It's all a percentage increase in terms of what it's going to cost to get an acre in the ground. But potatoes are expensive anyway. But then a year like this, it's just insane.
Now, where is that cost allocation coming from? Is that fertilizer?
Yeah, fertilizer, big percentage of it for sure. Like gonna be well over $1,000 an acre to get an acre of potatoes fertilized this year.
Wow.
Yeah. No, quite staggering.
Now, has the price has that moved in a corresponding fashion, or is there a margin squeeze there?
Yeah. So for what we do, we grow processing potatoes for a local fry plant here, and that is all worked through the contract negotiations and whatnot. So for what we do, pretty safe as long as, we're dryland farmers. So as long as we get some rain, then we'll have a good crop and realize the margin on those processing acres. But for the other guys that do open market or seed or, don't have a contract per se, then definitely a lot of risk involved there this year.
Yeah, no doubt. How are you feeling about the year ahead? You feeling optimistic though?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we, as long as, like I said, as long as we get a couple showers of rain here and there, then yeah, we'll pull this one off and call it a win. Prices are softening. Like we're a cash crop farm that dabbles in potatoes, I guess is the best way to describe our operation. So yeah, things are not lining up quite where they should yet in terms of what it's going to cost to get, corn and beans and wheat in and out of the field and marketed at a profitable level. But,
yeah.
It's early in the game. Yeah.
What else is in the crop mix?
Yeah. So we do corn, soybeans, wheat, and potatoes.
Have you got any corn planted?
We don't know. Our overnight temperatures here the last 10 days, like we were still dipping down close to freezing or even a little below. So still a little early for corn. I don't think there's much in the ground in the Maritimes in general, I would say, in terms of corn.
Gotta make sure on corn that soil's
exactly.
fit.
If you're gonna go early, go early on beans or something like that.
Yeah. Is that what you do? You typically start with beans?
We have in the past, but I guess in a perfect world would be planting corn and drilling soybeans at the same time. But just our health situation is such that we can barely tackle one job here at a time, let alone two or three. So yeah, we're just focusing on getting the potatoes in and going from there.
my assumption here is that the entire crop rotation sort of wraps around what you're doing with potatoes. Is that true?
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, I guess the way that I see our rotation rolling out here would be potatoes, winter wheat, corn, and then back to potatoes. But there is some ground here that we farm that either isn't suitable for potatoes, so we'll just run a straight cash crop rotation through that: corn, beans, wheat.
Makes sense. Okay, this week's question, Patrick, not ag related whatsoever.
Oh, the dreaded question. I'm fearing this. You might get one over on me here.
Well, it's pretty easy to answer, I think. And this individual's not in agriculture, but he always seems to have comments about agriculture. This weekend is the coronation of Charles III. Will you be watching on Saturday?
I'm not a big royal follower. No, probably not. Actually, it's supposed to turn around. The weekend is supposed to be beautiful here, mid-teens and sunny. So Friday we'll probably get back in the field and get some planting done. So no, to answer your question, probably won't stop the planter to watch or listen in. You could,
I bet you it'll be on like CBC Radio. I'm assuming that, or you could stream it on your phone. What would it take? Like, what would have to, like, would it have to be like dancing clowns or something? Like, what would it take for you to watch?
It'd be dancing something, Shaun.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of people around the world watching, though, man.
Yeah, no, it's a huge event, and kind of life changing. I guess one of those things we knew would always happen, given how old the Queen was. But nevertheless, probably not gonna spark my interest. It's
like a farm succession story. You wait your whole life, and finally you're at this ripe old age, and now you get to take over, and it's like, yeah, whatever, nobody cares.
Yeah, there's still a lot of that going on out there.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Patrick, have a great rest of your planting season, and all the best to you, and we'll check in with you a bit later on in the growing season, okay?
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
And say hi to all of our listeners and friends out there in P.E.I, okay?
I will, for sure.
If you have never been out to P.E.I to visit, I highly encourage you to do so. Now, don't do what I did. I was there in January. It was okay. The weather was fine, but the beautiful time is during the growing season, during the summer months. Highly, highly, highly encourage you to check it out. All you U.S. listeners too, you can do it. Yeah, visit P.E.I. The island is absolutely gorgeous, just beautiful. I couldn't imagine farming in that kind of just picturesque, sort of almost taking you back in time sort of feel to it. Very, very cool P.E.I. in terms of a location to go visit, and lots of great farming that is happening there. Of course, very famous for potato production as well. Hey, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue the Farmer Rapid Fire. We're going to stop in Ontario next. You're listening to RealAg Radio today for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
Did you know that Pioneer now has a full lineup of Enlist E3 soybeans? Take a look at Pioneer brand Enlist E3 soybeans for the highest yield potential and for the best agronomic package and herbicide trait options. From the lab to the field, Pioneer brand Enlist E3 soybeans are the best in beans, period. Ask your local Pioneer representative about Enlist E3 beans.
The Corn School's got you covered. Everything from tillage discussions, weed control info, field trial results, yield strategies, and more. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF. Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from RealAgriculture.com, or as a podcast from your favorite streaming service. Download the latest episode today. Canola is more than just a pretty face in the prairie landscape. It's a big business, both here and around the world, that requires you to be informed and up to date on everything it takes to grow a successful crop. The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com has an expert library of video resources covering markets, agronomy, and more to help you grow a healthy and profitable canola crop. Visit canolaschool.com today. Brought to you by BASF Canada and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
We just heard from Patrick Dunphy, who is in P.E.I. Well, now, and he mentioned it's been relatively dry there. Oh, so it's raining here this week, but it's been pretty dry there. Where it is not dry is where we're going next on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We are in Renfrew, Ontario. We're talking to Charlene Wattam. Charlene, how's it going today?
Good. How about you?
Oh, pretty good. Okay, so what's happened on the farm here this week?
Absolutely nothing.
Now, that's not because you're lazy or because you're a procrastinator. It's because of what? How much rain did you get in the last week?
Oh my goodness. We have had so much rain. I just did a little drive into town. I had an appointment and there is water laying everywhere.
Not good. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. How do you view this moisture?
Well, everybody would kind of like to, looking at the calendar, be in the field and be doing some stuff. And, moisture, I don't think it's probably not a bad thing. It's just amount and timing that's got everybody being a little anxious now.
Yeah. Okay. So how far does this set planting back for you, do you think?
I'm going to guess we're a solid week out for sure.
Yeah.
If it stops. It's supposed to be done maybe later today. So we'll see. We'll take it as it comes.
Now, is your land tiled, or are you just waiting for it to drain surface-wise?
No, all my land is tiled and tiled quite well, but it's just, it also is quite a sloping topography, so we definitely want to make sure that we're not disturbing the soil when we shouldn't be, otherwise we can make quite a mess. Yeah,
and you with these kind of conditions, you rush it, and I got to get started on the corn, and then you rush it, and boy, you will see those mistakes for the rest of the year.
And for more years than that, yeah. No, I walked the fields a few times. We were hoping to get a pre-plant burn down done. We were hoping to plant spring wheat. And we looked at the conditions 2 weeks ago, and it was like, it's touchy. There's places that would go. There's places that wouldn't. We'll hold off. Went out the following week, a week later, and it was worse off than it was the week before. So it's, you just got to wait. Just got to wait.
Okay, what's in the crop mix for the year?
So for me, I'm hoping to put in spring wheat and soybeans.
Okay. And obviously, like you just said, spring wheat's going in first.
Yes.
Okay, what kind of
at least that's the hope anyway.
Right, yeah. Mother Nature may have a say in that for sure. Now, what kind of yield on spring wheat are you like? What would you pencil in as kind of a here? Well, if we got this, we're right on budget.
So we're in the last couple of years, we've had some good yields, and we've been in the 70 bushel range, 70 to 75.
Yeah. So now some people are listening to this and be like, wait a minute, Charlene's from Ontario. I thought it was all winter wheat. Why spring wheat and not winter wheat?
Because I couldn't get the winter wheat in before the planting deadline. So I happen to live in a particularly blessed area that is excellent for cereals and can have winter wheat or spring wheat. It tends to be just a little bit cooler and more moderate here. A little bit further east, it's all spring wheat. A little bit further west, it's all got to be winter wheat. So it's just that particular pocket that I live in is kind of unique that way.
How you been handling your crop marketing? Have you touched anything on this new crop? Like when you look at soybeans, definitely opportunity there, but the market's been choppy is probably a bit of an understatement.
So in the past, I have always been a very proactive marketer, marketing portions of the crop as it made sense to do so. Last year, we lost the trucking company that did most of the crop movement in our area, and that really has affected how I can market. So in the end, I'm just kind of sitting tight because honestly, getting stuff out of the field, I'm not quite sure how it's all going to come together.
Yeah. And I guess as you look at the year ahead, though, You feeling optimistic? Like, obviously, there's things to be worked out, like, getting the crop in the ground, which I'm kind of sound like I'm understating there. But it is going to dry up. Let's be honest. Now
it'll happen sometime.
It always does.
It always does. Unless it doesn't. I have used unceded acreage benefit from crop insurance before. So.
Oh, that's not even that deadline's got to be a ways out. We're not even thinking that yet.
No, I hope not.
Oh man, are you optimistic about the year ahead? Are you feeling a little bit more pessimistic, let's say, than the last couple of years?
I'm feeling a little cautious. I think seems like a lot of the marketing news I'm hearing is sort of that what's gone up has got to come down, and they seem to be really steering us towards make sure you've got some stuff locked in at these good prices because they may not last. I don't know. In the end, I'll know in November what I should have done.
It's an industry full of hindsight, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Right now, what is your kind of biggest agronomic concern? Is it just making sure you wait till that soil's fit, or are other things taking up your mind from an agronomic standpoint?
I think right now it's making sure that the land is fit. Yeah, that's definitely primary concern. Just making sure that I don't make any big errors right at the start that are going to end up limiting things going forward. I am kind of worried that moist as it is right now, it could end up being quite dry this summer because that seems to be a trend among other areas. So we'll see how this all pans out, I guess, in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, question of the week this week is this weekend is the coronation of Charles III. My question is, will you be watching?
No. No, not because I'm like anti-monarchy or anything. Just, we got too many other jobs on the go. That I just don't have time for that at the moment.
there was people lining up on like Monday. Is that crazy?
They live a different life.
That's crazy. Have you watched The Crown?
I haven't. No.
Oh, you should do that. It's quite good. It is quite good.
Well, I've been told kind of once you start into it, you get sucked in. So I'm trying to wait until I have like a chunk of dedicated time that I could be sucked into something, and that just hasn't happened.
I hear you. Hey, later on in the show, Pioneer Seeds is our sponsor for the Farmer Rapid Fire. And later on in the show, we're going to be talking to Paul Hermans, who's from Pioneer, who is in Eastern Ontario. What question would you like me to ask him? Do you have an agronomic one when it comes to your soybeans that you would like me to ask him?
I guess maturity. What he would steer people towards as this weather has moved in here. Are we still looking at planting, those stretch varieties, or should we be pulling the maturity back a little bit into a more just a normal season variety now?
Good question. We'll put that to him when he comes on the program here at the back end of the show. Hey, Charlene, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire to Crystal City, Manitoba, and we're talking to Landon Friesen. Landon, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, Shaun.
Okay, what's happened on the farm this week? What are you doing?
Oh, we got the drill out and almost ready to go. We're just putting some hoses on it. We're doing a meter update on the planter, and those parts hopefully come in this week or beginning of next. So, just getting stuff ready for the season.
Yeah, I'm hearing in your voice a real sense of calmness. Like you feel ready to go.
I think we're pretty ready to go. My wife says I'm unusually calm for being the time of the year. So that's a good sign. But, there's still a bit of snow in the tree lines, and the fields are soft. I haven't seen anyone around here even going onto the fields to scratch a bit. So maybe towards the weekend we'll find a dry quarter or two and put in some wheat before rain next week. But, we're 2 weeks ahead of an early start. So I can't say we're late yet. We're doing okay.
I like how you put that. We're 2 weeks ahead of an early start. I like that. That's pretty good. Okay, so what are you going to start with?
Probably barley, wheat. As soon as we can get going with the planter and it's ready to go, we'll probably get into the soybeans and then get into the sunflowers. So hopefully those are in by second or third week of May.
What's all in the rotation?
Oh, this year we dropped a few crops, but barley, wheat, canola, edible beans, sunflowers, and soybeans.
You dropped oats?
I dropped peas and flax, yeah.
Oh, okay. Why?
Well, just from what I'm seeing in bids, it seems like the flax market is a little overbought. I could be totally wrong in this, and I hope I am, and someone can benefit from good flax prices this year. But it seems like no one's really eager to buy flax, and it sounds like they've got a bit to sit on for quite a while. I'm still sitting on flax in the bins, so it didn't make sense to add to my carryover next year. So,
root rot on the peas, or
similar on the peas? I got caught in that Merit thing, so I'm sitting on a bunch of peas from Merit as well. After they kind of close shop there for a bit, or restructuring, we'll call it what you want.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm sitting on some peas as well, and not real thrilled about the prices I'm seeing right now, although they are starting to come back up. But so same thing, just sitting on a lot of peas, and no need to grow more if I've got a few bins full already. So.
Now you got a number of crops, and which can be typical on the prairies. There's a lot of different options. Is this year normal where things drop in, things come in? Like you got, and I'm assuming you've got some core acres, and then you've got where you do some switching. Is that fair?
Yeah, let's call it our specialty crops is what I call it.
Okay.
So the wheat is pretty set. The canola acres are normally pretty firm. And then my pulse acres are divided between normally peas, edible beans, and soybeans. This year, less peas, more soybeans, a few more edible beans to make up for that pulse. And then flax is kind of getting replaced with sunflowers this year. Last year we took a break from sunflowers, and we'll go back into them this year.
Well, you extended harvest.
Sucker for punishment.
You like combining in the snow, do you?
Well, we've only had to do that once, and that was after Christmas already. So hopefully we're not to that point. But no, we've had some long seasons. We've had later starts and longer seasons. So if that trend continues, then we should be okay. But if not, we'll find out in the fall.
How do you feel about like this? Like you mentioned to your wife, it said you seem kind of calm. Is it kind of like organized chaos, and like how do you view the stretch that's in front of you and everybody that's helping on the farm? How do you view that? Is this like, do you look at it with like excitement, like I can't wait to be as busy as I'm going to be and we're going to push through, or is it like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to run the other side of it? How do you view this time of the year?
We're pretty excited to get going and put in some long hours. We've had a winter of lots of snow. I know yesterday we all got sunburnt out in the yard working on a drill, and it felt so good. None of us were complaining today. We're all laughing like it's so nice instead of snow and sleet and cold weather. So we're enjoying the warmth, and even my guys that are working with me, they were very excited to get going and put in some long hours and get the crop in the ground. So no, there's a lot of excitement here.
It's a good sign you love what you're doing. That's I think if you were dreading it, then you probably there's a bit of indication of something else. Now, have you got the markets figured out? Because you got a lot of different crops to market there, so you got a lot of things to track and follow.
I don't have the markets figured out. I still don't have that part.
Dude, what do you do? Like that like right? Like this is like how often do you do you look at what happened daily? Do you get text alerts, or are you somebody that like I check it every 2 weeks and try not to think about it?
No, I watch the markets daily so you know which way trends and patterns are going. I try to read international news, what's going to affect our markets, whether it's in Ukraine or China buying and dropping corn, or try to stay on top of that. Grain Shark, I subscribe to him. He's pretty good, and that helps a lot understand and have a landlord that's quite in touch with the markets and what goes on worldwide. He does a lot of online trading, so he's a good guy to pick his brain once in a while. But Yeah, it's that's one area that you think you have a plan figured out, and then you think we have a plan, but it never.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work out, but you just got to keep checking your spreadsheets, check your numbers. Can I sell for a profit? Is it decent? Let's do it. You're not always going to sell on the tops.
Yeah, totally correct. Do you feel like you have a good handle around the cost side, where you know your margins and things like that?
Yeah, we try to track that pretty closely, and I mean, as the markets are changing, I know what I need to get out of a bushel of wheat and whatnot, and obviously we don't want to make 5%. You want to make more than that, right? So sometimes you're going to hold and wait for better, or sometimes you got to sell it anyway. But yeah, for the most part, everything's still pretty green.
Okay, this week's question, totally not related to agriculture, but just the timing. This Saturday is going to be the coronation of Charles III. Will you be following along and watching?
Absolutely not.
Why, well, millions of people will be. Why will Landon Friesen not be?
So I had this thought the other day. I wonder if they ever sit there and realize how irrelevant to the rest of the world they're, just like I am. You know what I mean? If I stop farming, no one bats an eye in the rest of the world. If they would stop being king and playing dress up over there, I don't know. I don't think they would make much difference.
It is
That's my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of a question. I often wonder, or I often think, I should say, how isolated and lonely of a life that is.
That's what I was thinking too.
Where you can't go anywhere. You can't just walk down to the Shakespeare Arms and have a pint, right?
Yeah.
You're yeah. It would be there's famous, and then there's you can't peek your head outside famous. I think it'd be terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't sound so exciting to me. Honestly, they're talking about are we going to change the currency? With the king on there. Let's just keep it Canadian. I don't know. Yeah. I get there's history and it's important. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't really see the relevance of it in this day and age.
I think that's going to be. Australia's had this discussion. Canada will eventually have the discussion too. Hey, Landon. Honestly, all the best to you during seeding and planting time here. Have a really, really great one. Hopefully Mother Nature cooperates, and we'll check in with you a little bit later on in the growing season, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Shaun. Appreciate it.
You're listening to RealAg Radio and the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you today by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
Want to get the best out of your soybean crops? Whether you've been growing them for a generation or are just starting into soybeans, find what you need to know at soybeanschool.com. You'll see videos on growing tips, pest control, and much more from specialists across the region, all in one place. Easy for you to access from your desktop, tablet, or mobile phone. Maximize your yields by staying up to date with the Soybean School, presented by BASF, Pride Seeds, and Syngenta Canada.
As we've been hearing, parts of Ontario getting quite a bit of moisture, especially Eastern Ontario here in the last week or so. Earlier today, I was listening to the Market Day report on Rural Radio 147 here, and Tony St. James, who is a media personality out of Lubbock, Texas, he said, he's talking about the winter wheat crop. Lubbock, Texas, this year has only had not even an inch of rain. Hard to have a wheat crop when you only get that, right? So kind of feast or famine as always, usual suspects. But yeah, that U.S. winter wheat crop is definitely in very, very poor shape indeed. Now, another area that doesn't get a lot of rain, and that's where we're headed next here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. Make sure you visit pioneer.com/Canada. That other area is Lancer, Saskatchewan. And we're joined by Jim Hale. Jim, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's great to chat with you. I haven't talked to you since January. How are things going on the farm? What are you up to this week?
Finishing up getting seed cleaned, finishing up drill prep. Need to do a little bit of harrowing. Need to do some tillage. So 101 things. Pretty normal for the time of year.
Well, and pretty normal when you. So how do you prioritize? Because you're doing all this yourself. So how do you prioritize what you're going to do?
That's usually the good question. My tillage thing is a rental, so as soon as that shows up, that has to become the priority. So I'm not holding somebody else up that's looking for it. And just kind of depending where I am, whether it's kind of working seed cleaning in with delivering kids to daycare when that was happening, and then otherwise if I'm at home, it's working on the drill. So it kind of depends on the situation and what, or if we know we got somebody going to the city maybe for parts, then we kind of try to get stuff done so we know if we have a parts pickup that we need. So it's a lot of the plan changes very, very quickly.
I bet you can't wait for those kids to get old enough.
Yeah, the one just turned 2 here on the 1st, and he's my shadow. I'm sure he would sleep in a truck or a tractor if he could at night.
Yeah, exactly. How bad are you hoping for rain? What's the moisture situation in Lancer?
We could use a rain. I think we're going to be dry rather quickly. It's was 27 yesterday. They're calling for about the same today. Things are greening up. There is still snow if you look for it. Very, very odd year. Very kind of a strange melt where we had a fast melt, but not every slough is full. Some of the sloughs you think would be right full are just about dry, and some of the ones that you don't normally think about are right full. So,
yeah, it sort of just shows how we just sort of the weather just kind of turned on a dime, right?
Yeah, we could take. I'm sure nobody would complain if we got rain right away. I think everybody's a little itchy to kind of get some acres in sooner rather than later. Just because you never know if you're going to get, if we got a big rain, we might be stopped for 3 or 4 days because it gets pretty sticky here in the clay. And I think we're still at a moisture reserve deficit from the last basically 4 years. So yeah, we would. I don't think anybody's hitting the panic button yet, but if we have lots of warm days, and it hasn't been windy either, so that always helps. But we would be taking a rain sooner rather than later.
Don't jinx it with the wind. You're right. It has not been windy at all. Don't jinx it, Jim.
It seems like we always have better wind conditions in May than April, and nobody was turning the wheel. In fact, I know I saw 2 guys seeding today, and that's the first I've seen anybody locally seeding in the area. So things are just starting, and guys have been able to get some burn off or pre-plant stuff down here in the last maybe 3 days.
Yeah. Anything to update in terms of the crop rotation? Are there things in and things out, or staying the same as per usual?
Canola out.
Canola out.
Canola out because with changes in crop insurance, it's getting really expensive to insure. Which, I mean, it would pay out well, but if it doesn't, and you're borderline, if you're a bushel over your crop insurance, then you're paying a lot of money for something. And I don't have an issue with the changes they made because they're more, I think they're more accurate to area risk. I have spoken for some mustard, but I'm still kind of on the fence about that. Pretty heavy in cereals this year, and that's just with a lack of personal availability on pulse seed.
So. Have you been affected by root rot where you are?
Yes and no. It's in the area. It hasn't affected me because my rotations aren't as tight as everybody else.
Well, there you go. The benefit of rotation, right?
yeah, I would say I'm probably more on a 4 to 6 year for lentil, where it's not unheard of to have lentil snow here in really dry years. Guys have pushed that. It's been a while, but it has been done.
Now, you work hard in the winter. You got an off-farm job in the oil field. Does the farming, when you switch back to the farming, does this feel easier or worse?
There is you're in control of your own destiny, but you're also in control of your own destiny. So when sometimes it's a nice break to just show up at X location and do your thing. And if something goes wrong, you make a phone call, you work through the problem, but it's not your dime particularly. And then you can, at the end of the shift, you just go home and it's not particularly your problem. Which, you can kind of just shut it off. The problem might be there tomorrow, but you just deal with it then. It's not like it's something that keeps you up at night.
Makes sense. Okay, Jim, this week's question has to do with the coronation on Saturday. Now, we're going to see the coronation of Charles III. I know you're a big monarchist, so will you be tuning in?
I might, probably not live, maybe catch it on like a 24-hour replay on like a 24-hour news channel. We actually I shouldn't even say cut. We discontinued our satellite service, so we're totally streaming everything.
Wow.
Now, and we don't really there is some free streaming TV stuff. We get some national news stuff, but we just decided we ended up not really watching it for about a month, and so we just cut it out. So,
are you using Starlink out on the farm or something, or how are you getting such good internet?
We got Starlink, and it's been good so far. We have at any number of times maybe 5 or 7 devices connected, not necessarily all pulling heavy download, but smart TV, 3 or 4 tablets, and 2 smartphones, and a laptop.
Nice.
And a desktop. So maybe more devices than that.
Yeah, thank you, Elon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elon.
Yeah. It is pricey, but it's better than what we had before. So
way better. Yeah, it makes a big difference. It allows you to see how the rest of the world lives. Hey, Jim, thanks so much. All the best to you during seeding time. Get that crop in. I know you're going to pull some long hours. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you a little bit later on in the growing season, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks again.
So Jim Hale, the only one of our farmers that may have a slight sliver of I'll watch some of the highlights. Everybody else seemed like they were kind of bowing out, which I'm not totally surprised by. Let's take a quick break. We'll finish up the Farmer Rapid Fire. When we come back, you're listening to RealAg Radio, brought to you today by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
Peter Johnson at Wheat Pete, RealAgriculture.com, and what an opportunity! Oh my gosh! You think you can't grow better wheat? You are absolutely wrong. We're going to show you how to strive for those record wheat yields that they get in the UK and in New Zealand. You can grow 150 bushel wheat. I'll show you how.
Catch Wheat Pete's Word every Wednesday on RealAgriculture.com or download the podcast on iTunes or Spotify.
Whether you're seeding, harvesting, or anything in between, the Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com has you covered. Timely agronomic information from industry experts available online anytime. Give your wheat crop a good start and a great finish with the Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com. Brought to you by C&M Seeds, Syngenta Canada, and the Alberta Wheat and Barley Commission.
And we finish up the Farmer Rapid Fire with the sponsor of the Farmer Rapid Fire, and that is Pioneer Seeds Canada. We're talking to their area agronomist just outside Ottawa. It's Paul Hermans. Hey, Paul, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Shaun. Thanks.
Okay, we heard earlier it's pretty wet in your parts. How's that impacting the planting progress?
Well, that's the big thing. I mean, the calendar's flipped, Shaun. Once we get to that May timeframe, people start worrying about planting dates and stuff. And we've had a lot of rain across most of Ontario, anywhere from about 2 to 4 or 5 inches with cold weather. So it's really slowing things down. And customers are phoning asking, what should we do with this planting delay?
Yeah. So let's get to that. From a corn perspective, what do they do? What are the considerations? Are we too early to start thinking about changing out hybrids at this point?
Oh, for sure. I think so. And it's everyone's going to have their own way of looking at it, depending on their risk factors and everything else. But if I look at our data that we have with Pioneer across North America, so I live in the Ottawa area, Eastern Ontario, we kind of suggest sticking to that game plan until May 18th to the 20th. And then we've got folks, might be Southern Ontario down to that London-Windsor corridor. That's more that May 25th period. So you kind of have those two dates in mind, Shaun. Once we get there, then we start backing down about 100 corn heat units per week to make sure that we're going to get the crop off that we want to. But I look at a bunch of other factors, though, Shaun, too. It's test weight scores. If I have a high test weight hybrid with an early flowering hybrid, I can push the window a little bit longer with those hybrids compared to one that's not as good a test weight, making sure that we get the grade here at the end of the fall. Because when we get with these delayed plantings that's potentially coming, it's more of the fall harvest and can we get through a frost before Mother Nature basically takes that corn crop out.
Yeah, I can remember numerous Canada's Outdoor Farm shows where, the big question has been, will the corn finish, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that white combine, right? When I talk about the white combine, it's that frost, Mother Nature, that's going to take that crop out. And I'm not worried about the first planted corn that we put in. It's that last planted. That's the stuff that usually struggles when we start thinking about corn crop. And it's, in general, again, it's 60 days from tassel to black layer. And so, the earlier I can get my corn crop flowering tasseling, the better it is, a chance to miss that frost at the end period.
Now, earlier on the show here today, Charlene, who farms out in Renfrew, not too far from you, her question was the same question, but in regards to soybeans. So what's the difference in the consideration between needing to switch out a corn hybrid due to lateness versus a soybean variety?
Yeah, the big difference, if I take a look at, so I gave you those planting dates for corn, looking at beans, we generally say don't change your game plan on beans until about the middle of June. So that June 10th to 15th time frame, that's when we start to back down on our relative maturity for beans and everything else. So we got a long way to go there, Shaun. Beans are a different beast in how they react in terms of growth pattern and everything else compared to corn. So hold off on the beans for sure. Let's not talk about that changing at least till we get into the first week of June. Lots of time frame left for that.
Yeah. And you mentioned on the corn decision, you go, say that again, you go down 100 heat units. Say that again, what kind of the measurement is?
Yeah. So what we look at is roughly 100 heat units per week.
Okay.
So in my area, it's May 20th, let's say, is my cutoff date. So if I'm starting to get beyond that, well, I'm going to drop 100 heat units between May 20th and the 27th.
Okay.
And then the following week, I'm going to drop another 100 and so forth.
That makes sense. Awesome. Thank you for that information. Now, in your parts, though, with all that moisture, is this good for things like alfalfa? The weeds, I'm sure, are really enjoying it, but how about the alfalfa?
Yeah, no, exactly. And so the weeds, that's one thing that guys are going to have to really watch out from a weed standpoint. They're marching along and what's your game plan. But I'm in a big livestock area. The grasses are moving along. They're not slowing down. Alfalfa this year, it's moving too. We had that warm April pattern there for a few days where, it was almost a week of 24, 25 degrees. It's really moving and marching along. So if you're a dairy operation, keep track. But again, it's going to compress everything, Shaun. We're going to be into planting, spraying, potentially doing that first cut of hay and everything else going forward. So I talk to growers we have the old-fashioned, what we call the peak stick, getting out, taking a look at the height of the alfalfa, where it is maturity-wise, and then using that as an indicator to get the best relative feed value that we can.
patience, right? Like it's patience. That's really the key. And it's so hard in the moment. Like, I think like a good news story, a good example is last year in Manitoba. They were really late because it was so wet. They finally got the crop in June. Obviously, there was some switching, but a great corn crop because Mother Nature cooperated on the back end, right? And so there's some variables there that, we won't know until that time in the fall, like you had chatted about. But if we're not patient now and disciplined, we will see that comedy of error for the entire growing season, and it's going to really, really make you mad.
Oh, exactly. And it's, especially with corn, it's a princess crop. Like, I may lose maybe a half a bushel to a bushel maximum per day for each day delay beyond my optimum window. But if I go and mud that in, and guys are going to get rammy, I can tell you right now, because they want to get going, but I could affect, 20, 30% differences in emergence by uniform cobs. That could be 30 or 40 or 50 bushels or more. So you start doing the math. It's just, we got to be patient and get the job done right. And it's tough this year, Shaun, because in our area, that earlier spring, everything's green, the trees, if you look outside, it says it's earlier, but if you look at the calendar, we still have a ways to go, and we still have some good time to get the crop in.
Yeah, you got to keep that in the back of your mind for sure. Hey, Paul, thanks so much for joining us. This is awesome information. I can't wait till the next time that we chat. Thanks so much for joining us here today on the program, and to Pioneer Seeds Canada for being the sponsor of the Farmer Rapid Fire. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Shaun, and all the best to the growers out there.
All the best to the growers out there, indeed. I very much share those thoughts, Paul, for sure. Hey, it's great having Pioneer Seeds Canada aboard as our sponsor of the Farmer Rapid Fire. Make sure you go to pioneer.com/Canada. We're going to have a Pioneer agronomist on at the end of the show every time here on the Farm Rapid Fire to kind of wrap up what we heard and ask some of the farmers some questions that they can pass on to the agronomists. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and looking forward to it, and really appreciate the farmers. They're busy. There's lots of stuff happening this time of the year, whether it's planting or in the tractor doing stuff, and I really appreciate them always taking the time to chat with us, even though, as I mentioned, not a lot of interest in the coronation on Saturday. I'm not saying I'm really interested either, but if you are, tell me why. Send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Although I did love The Crown. Great show. Netflix, great show. And I'm also read up a lot of British history when it comes to, say, the Tudor dynasty, which is kind of a little known fact about me. I'm pretty passionate about that. But Charles III, I don't know. Charles I didn't work out very well. Charles II, we'll see if III makes his mark. You can also follow us on social media across all the different platforms, or you can call the RealAg feedback line if you want to tell me how you think Charles III will compare to Charles I or the Second or whoever. You can call 855-776-6147. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio, and we'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.